Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, top 10 players for this UCF program heading into 2024. And the UCF fans that have been rocking with the fellas the last couple of weeks and months, you guys certainly know what I think about this UCF team. And for some reason, in the Big 12 champion conversation, UCF is just getting left off this list. You dive into this roster, you stack the top 10 players, you certainly understand that this team from a talent standpoint can certainly win the Big 12 in the 2024 year. Fired up to get into this conversation, talk about my top 10 players for UCF before we get into it. And as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and to the UCF fans. Been a blast talking this program. The amount of support you guys have shown has been absolutely amazing. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly for the UCF fans, I would love to hear some players that maybe I'm sleeping on heading into 2024. There are a lot of breakout candidates that might not be top 10 players on this UCF roster as we speak right now. We check back in with this list in the middle of October. They're certainly top 10 players. I would love to hear some of those names that you guys have in the comments section. I always learn a ton from you guys. And without further ado, let's get into the top 10 list. We got to start with, at least in my mind, one of the best running backs in the country, RJ Harvey. And what I think is really special about RJ Harvey, you can talk about just the pure production that he had for UCF in 2023. You go back and watch UCF in 2023, you really start to understand why RJ Harvey was so special for this UCF team, specifically on offense, and that is keeping this offense on schedule. This is a running back that very rarely takes negative plays. He deals with contact exceptionally well. He keeps this UCF offense on schedule, and how Guz Malzahn has really designed this UCF offense, that is massively important. I mean, you do not want this UCF offense in third and long situations very often. And with RJ Harvey toting the rock, he's a guy that 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, keeping this UCF program on schedule, but also can hit the big plays when the opportunity presents himself. And so you start looking at the number 74 missed tackles, 802 yards after contact, and you start looking at the boxes that you want to see a UCF running back check. RJ Harvey is going right down the list, checking all of those boxes. Not only is the production just extremely impressive, I mean, that was top 10 in the country, 1,400 rushing yards. I think what he means to this UCF program might even be more than what his pure production was for UCF in 2023. Fired up for this kid going into the 2024 season, number 2 on the list. And let's talk about wide receiver Kobe Hudson, and why I think Kobe Hudson is so important to this UCF team is you look at how UCF wants to operate on offense. It's no secret. This UCF team is going to run the football a lot. And when they do throw the football, they want to push the ball down the field. And you look at Kobe Hudson, what he can do vertically down the field in those contested catch situations. That's what is so special for this UCF offense. When you run the football as much and as effectively as UCF does, you are forcing those safeties to come into the box and respect what UCF is doing running the football. That's going to give Kobe Hudson a ton of opportunity to attack the deeper third. He's one of the best wide receivers in the country attacking the deeper third, 20.5 yards per catch. I think he is not only just a really good football player, but again, similar to RJ Harvey, he fits this UCF offense exceptionally well. Going to number 3 and talk about a player that fits this UCF offense exceptionally well, that's KJ Jefferson. Now, you'll look at KJ Jefferson, and I think a lot of people will look at the 2023 year and say, well, it wasn't that great for KJ Jefferson. And that's probably true, right? That Arkansas offensive line was an absolute disaster. The offensive coordinator hire was even more of a disaster. KJ Jefferson, prior to the 2023 season, was getting talked about as one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. Now he comes to UCF, and kind of like we talked about with RJ Harvey and Kobe Hudson, he is just a perfect fit in terms of what Guz Malzahn wants to do on the offensive side of the football. And that's such an important conversation. What makes Guz Malzahn, at least in my mind, one of the best coaches in the country is he just knows how to use his talent the right way. If he can use KJ Jefferson the right way, which I have full confidence that he will, you're going to see a massive year from KJ Jefferson. And at the end of the day, we've seen starting quarterbacks with a lot of experience have really successful seasons, right? You go back to Bo Nix and Michael Penix. What made some of those quarterbacks so special in 2023 is they've just played a ton of football. They've seen a lot of different looks. KJ Jefferson, in my mind, is kind of slotted as one of those quarterbacks that's just seen a ton of football. He started the last 3 seasons in the SEC. He's been one of the more productive quarterbacks in the country. I'm fired up for KJ Jefferson in the 2024 season. Going to number 4, let's talk about what I think makes this UCF team, specifically the backfield, one of the best backfields in the country. You talk about Big 12 teams having to tackle KJ Jefferson, RJ Harvey, and Penny Boone probably 40-plus times a game. That is going to wear on a lot of Big 12 teams, and I think that's why they went out and got Penny Boone. Again, similar to RJ Harvey, the numbers are absolutely incredible. Over 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, 7.2 yards per carry. But you start looking at how this running back room is compromised and say, all right, Penny Boone, KJ Jefferson, RJ Harvey, some of the most imposing ball carriers that we see across the country. You make no mistake how UCF wants to play. They're going to play some bully ball. They're going to run the football, control the clock, play fast. I am fired up about what this rushing attack can be with UCF. And when you can run the football like UCF is going to be able to do, that just makes you a very hard team to beat consistently on Saturday afternoons. Going to the number 5 player, and let's talk about Lee Hunter, who I think is really good. And you talk about physically imposing. And this is one of the most physically imposing interior defensive linemen that we see in the country. Start looking at the numbers and say he led this UCF team with 39 run stops last year. That is an absolutely incredible number. With an average depth of tackle of 1.8 yards down the field, what does that tell you about Lee Hunter? He is winning at the line of scrimmage. That's where he's making the bulk of his plays. And then not only is he good in the run game, he's extremely disruptive as a pass rusher as well. 16 quarterback hurries. And I think what's exciting about Lee Hunter is this kid has all the potential in the world. You've seen him just get better and better and better during his collegiate career. What happens if Lee Hunter takes another step in 2024? You're looking at least in my mind, one of the better interior defensive linemen that we see in the conference and probably the country as well. Going to number 6, and let's talk about Amari Knight. This was a kid that was a former top 100 recruit from Alabama, transfers to UCF, and you hadn't really seen much of Amari Knight prior to the 2023 season. Played phenomenal football for UCF. Again, not only a very good run blocker, as evident of how good this UCF team was with running the football, 0 sacks, 10 quarterback hurries. Again, you go back to KJ Jefferson's time at Arkansas, and he had one of the worst offensive lines in the SEC, if not the worst. Now he's coming behind a UCF offensive line that not only in the run blocking department is really, really good, but also can really keep him clean in the pocket, And that's kind of what excites me the most with KJ Jefferson coming to UCF is this offensive line, the pieces around KJ Jefferson going to be really good. And Amari Knight is one of those names to keep an eye on. Going to number 7, let's talk about Deshaun Pace. And where you want to start with Deshaun Pace is this kid has played a ton of football during his collegiate career at Cincinnati and has been just next level productive. I mean, over 240 tackles, 25 tackles for a loss, 6 interceptions. This is the ultimate chess piece in this UCF defense. You're going to see him play some off-ball linebacker. You're going to see him play some nickel. You're going to see him play some safety. He's going to do everything for this UCF defense. And why is that so important is you look at the landscape of the Big 12 and say you're going to see so many different kind of offenses during this 2024 season. You have some teams that are going to want to run the football a lot. You're going to see some teams that are going to want to spread you out and throw the football a lot. Having a guy like Deshaun Pace who can give you that coverage ability when you're playing teams that want to spread you out, but also giving you that kind of athletic box defender that can get involved in the run game. Massive storyline for UCF. And again, these kind of players are becoming so important to collegiate defenses in this modern era of college football, where you have the athleticism to cover a lot of ground, close space, make tackles in space, but also have the ability to play in the box, take on blocks, and support in the run game. I love Deshaun Pace. This was one of the better gets, I think, for UCF in the transfer portal. Going to number 8, and a guy that I didn't think I'd be talking about in top 10 players, going back and watching some of the games, looking at the numbers, Malachi Lawrence played some really good football. Like 10 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, a 15% pass rush win rate. This is a very disruptive defensive lineman for UCF that can get it done in a lot of different ways. He's got kind of a deep bag of pass rush moves to use, but he's also a guy that can just collapse pockets. Heavy hands, puts hands on offensive linemen, puts them right into the lap of quarterbacks. Not necessarily the quote-unquote star player for this UCF team, but played some damn good football for UCF in 2023. I expect the same in 2024. Going to number 9, another offensive lineman, Marcellus Marshall. Came from Kent State. What I love about Marcellus Marshall is 0 sacks, 12 quarterback hurries on over 390 pass pro opportunities. Very good numbers. He's versatile. And you look at this UCF offensive line and trying to just get the best 5 offensive linemen on the football field, having a guy like Marcellus Marshall who can play right tackle, can play left guard, can play right tackle. All 3 of those positions he started at for UCF during the 2023 season. He's a guy that, all right, if our best 5 is with you at right tackle, we can play you there. If our best 5 is with you on the inside at one of the guard spots, we can play you there as well. Having these, again, kind of chess pieces on the UCF offensive line, allowing you to get your best 5 on the field, that's massive. And Marcellus Marshall, not only versatile, but a very good football player, whether he's playing guard, whether he's playing tackle. And going to number 10, excuse me, not sure if he's a top 10 player on UCF. Wanted to talk about him, Johnny Richardson. This is a guy that's just stuck it out with this UCF program and provides kind of a different element. Now, you look at KJ Jefferson, Penny Boone, RJ Harvey, 3 of the most imposing ball carriers that you see in the country. Now you inject a guy, Johnny Richardson, that is just lightning in a bottle. You've seen Guz Malzahn be very creative in terms of how he uses a guy like Johnny Richardson. I kind of look at it as like a 1-2 punch. We're going to grind teams down with RJ Harvey, Penny Boone, and KJ Jefferson. And then we're going to give Johnny Richardson a couple touches a game. And he's a guy that can give you those game-changing plays anytime he has the football in space. One of my favorite players on this UCF team, so I wanted to put him in the top 10. Not sure if he's actually a top 10 player. Wanted to give my guy some love. And I think the last conversation you want to have is just the breakout players that UCF has. Nigel Lee Kelly. This is a guy that was a former top 100 national recruit, has struggled to stay healthy during his first 2 years at Miami. If he puts it together going into year 3 and he stays healthy, this is a difference maker coming off the edge. Jacoby Jones from Ohio, another guy that works vertically down the field, has that big body, can make contested catches. Ethan Barrett, UCF has had some problems at the linebacker spot. What better guy to bring in than a 3-year starter in the SEC and Ethan Barrett? Breakout players, a guy like Johnny Walker. I look at this UCF team and say, not only do we know who the studs are, but we got a lot of players that could be stars for this UCF program in 2024. And if this team does, in fact, reach their potential, you're probably seeing some breakout players from this list right here. And honestly, just littered throughout this UCF depth chart. Those are my top 10 players. Would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Appreciate y'all rocking with it. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.